On that rainy day, the hospital buzzes with activity. Doctors rush around, urgently shouting, "Emergency! Bring in Baek Ha Yoon." He lies on a stretcher, oxygen mask in place, his expression hauntingly still. The doctor turns to the guy who brought him in, asking about his condition. The guy responds, "He's bleeding bad, but he's gonna make it." Another doctor jumps in, "Let's stop the bleeding right away." The first doctor asks about the accident, noticing he looks like a student. The guy explains, "Drunk driver smashed into their car, but he's the only one alive. Everyone else didn't make it." Meanwhile, in the next room, Eun Ha lies on her bed. On that fateful day, Baek Ha Yoon lost his family, and she, a terminal patient, learned it was due to heart disease. The doctor's voice stays calm. In a flashback, the doctor breaks the news, there's an issue with the heart she got 10 years ago. She mentions feeling uneasy in her chest lately, and it turns out the transplanted heart isn't doing its job properly. Her mom, holding the doctor's hands, questions the sudden revelation. The doctor admits it's a mystery, they're searching for answers. It's the first time they've seen a case like this. Urgently, they need a new donor, but the wait list is pretty long. But the even bigger issue, the doctor reveals, is that a new transplant might not guarantee Mizu any improvement. Her mom breaks down in tears, and the doctor looks unsure. Eun Ha can't fathom it. Is she really facing death? Back in the present, Eun Ha strolls down the hospital corridor. She glances into the next room and spots Baek Ha Yoon, a classmate. She knows his name, but realizes they've never really talked. That's the extent of their relationship. As she exits the room, Eun Ha overhears some nurses talking about Ha Yoon, referring to him as a poor kid. They mention his tragic loss, both parents and his sister passed away. Another nurse questions what he'll do even if he does wake up. Later on, Eun Ha confirms the nurse's words. It takes a while, but Ha Yoon finally stirs. He screams, demanding to know why they saved him, why he's the only one left alive. At 18, Eun Ha faces a harsh reality, maybe just one more year if luck's on her side. Outside, holding a can, she crumples it up and angrily tosses it away, tears streaming down her face. "Why me?" she cries out, "what did I do wrong?" Spotting a young boy nearby, she sighs and decides to pick up the can. "Better toss it properly," she mutters to herself, tossing it into the bin. Just as she's about to leave, the boy grabs her dress, surprising her. He flashes a sweet smile, extending a candy to her. Curious, she asks for his name, and he replies, "Yoon Jihan." Returning the question, he learns her name. Jihan wonders why she's there. Eun Ha explains it's because of her heart. Jihan asks if she needs surgery, and he shares that even surgery can't help him. His mom cries seeing him, and she apologizes for not having a healthier body to offer. Eun Ha asks Jihan if he's scared, and he admits he was at first, but now he's okay. He shares something the doctor told him, if he doesn't give up, a miracle will happen. Once he's better, he plans to visit the amusement park with his parents. She pats him on the head, reassuring him not to worry, he'll surely get better. Jihan smiles gratefully, thanking her and expressing his hope for her recovery too. He encourages her not to sit around feeling sad. He dashes off, excited for his favorite movie, bidding farewell. Eun Ha smiles to herself, murmuring, "Don't give up, huh?" It feels like a tiny boost of courage. Later on, she heads into her hospital room and announces to her parents her desire to return to school. They're surprised and ask if she's sure. With determination, she affirms her decision. However, her father objects, reminding her that the doctor recommended treatment for a longer life. She insists that's precisely why she wants to go back to school. Knowing treatment won't guarantee many extra years, she refuses to spend her time confined to a hospital room. Even if it's just for a year, she wants to do what she loves. As she begins to talk about the possibility of dying, her mom abruptly stomps her leg, reprimanding her. Her mom questions why she'd utter such things, emphasizing that certain words shouldn't be spoken in front of parents. She adamantly declares she won't let her daughter die. Her husband tries to calm her down, but she persists, vowing to do everything to ensure Eun Ha lives. She urges Eun Ha not to speak of dying so easily, fearing the toll it would take on her mother's sanity. She questions what she'd do without her daughter, insisting she hasn't even done enough for her. Eun Ha interjects, asking her mom if she remembers when she was in preschool. She recalls how other kids refused to eat bell peppers, but her mom praised her for enjoying them. In elementary school, when both her parents worked, she took on household chores, which her mom also commended her for. Eun Ha goes on, mentioning that even during middle school when kids rebelled during puberty, she doesn't think she ever went against her mom. This, she declares, is her first rebellion. She wants to attend school, ensuring no regrets. Her mom mumbles, questioning if this is a one-time rebellion. She agrees, telling Eun Ha that if her condition worsens even a bit, she must promise to get treatment immediately. Eun Ha quickly hugs her mom, expressing gratitude. Days later, Eun Ha, all packed and ready, leaves the hospital with her mom. On the way out, she spots Ha Yoon. In her mind, she reflects that while she wanted to live but had to face death, he was someone who forcibly tried to end his life. She senses the contrast, realizing they're opposites. However, it's precisely this difference that makes her believe they can understand each other. It's the story of her resentment towards life and his sense of hopelessness. Too clumsy to be called love, yet too splendid to be labeled as pain, it's the tale of the longest and most precious year of her life. Eun Ha steps into the doctor's office. He asks if she waited long, and she replies, not at all. The doctor mentions hearing from her parents that she's heading back to school, and she proudly confirms it, even wearing her uniform to show off. The doctor reminds her not to skip hospital checkups just because she's back in school. If anything happens, he emphasizes, she should come immediately. She assures him she understands. As she's about to leave, Eun Ha asks the doctor when Ha Yoon will be discharged. He responds that it's difficult to discharge him at the moment since he doesn't seem willing to undergo treatment. After the meeting with the doctor, Eun Ha steps outside the hospital. She notices Ha Yoon looking at her from his window. 1 month later, in school, the teacher announces that Ha Yoon is coming back today. Everyone is encouraged to be kind to him as he's been through a lot, and they should report anything unusual. Eun Ha wonders in her mind if Ha Yoon is doing all right. Students start whispering about Ha Yoon, sharing various opinions. Se-yeon, the girl beside Eun Ha, gets upset, expressing a desire to give them all a smack upside the head. Eun Ha advises her to calm down. Eun Ha tells Se-yeon to stop being mad and grab her textbook. It's fine, and it's nap time for the first period anyway. Just as her new and special life starts feeling normal, she's able to meet him again. Ha Yoon enters the class, drawing everyone's attention. He quietly takes a seat. Lunchtime arrives, and Se-yeon and Eun Ha decide to go to the cafeteria. As they stroll, Se-yeon asks Eun Ha what she's doing after school. Nervously, Eun Ha mentions she has to go to the hospital but then turns the question back to Se-yeon, asking why. Se-yeon suggests going to see a movie, mentioning there's a new one that's supposed to be a real tearjerker. The guy nearby asks what the movie is about. Se-yeon explains it's about a terminally ill patient discovering their life's purpose. In Eun Ha's mind, she reflects that she couldn't even tell her closest friends about her illness, because she knows it would make them sad. Eun Ha explains to Se-yeon that her mother wants her to come home early, so she can't go to the movie. Se-yeon suggests going next time. As they finish eating and head back, Eun Ha's friends rant to themselves. Spotting Ha Yoon, she wonders what he's doing over there. Eun Ha then tells her friends she thinks she forgot her phone in the cafeteria and that they should go on ahead. Near where Ha Yoon is seated, he looks at a family photo. Eun Ha peeks, debating whether to act natural and try to talk to him. His phone rings, and he answers. It's his uncle reminding him about the upcoming 49th day next week. Ha Yoon flinches, acknowledging that he knows and remembers. The uncle tells him to take care and call if anything happens, then ends the call. Ha Yoon looks at a picture again, recalling that rainy day. Rain pouring down, he asks his sister, Ha Yeon, if she's still mad at him. She responds, telling him not to talk to her, expressing her desire to eat cake from a particular place. It happened so fast. In just a moment, they collided with a drunk driver who crossed into the wrong lane, causing a big accident. People gather, urging each other to check for survivors. From that point onward, he doesn't remember anything. When he opens his eyes, all that remains is the despair of knowing he's the sole survivor. He prays fervently to a God he didn't believe in, asking to bring back his family. If he can't bring back his family, then at least he should join them, but miserably, he survived once again. It's not that he can't die, he just desperately wants to see them. However, he's not brave enough to take that step, because he feels weak. Back in the present, he starts crying, and rain begins to pour on him. The whole flashback of the accident floods his mind again. Eun Ha changes her mind, deciding to talk to him next time. However, as she's about to leave, she sees Ha Yoon fall to the floor unconscious. She rushes to him, wondering what to do. The thought of calling the teacher crosses her mind, but she's the only one there. Ha Yoon opens his eyes slightly, and Eun Ha observes him seeing his sister. He repeatedly calls out her name, leaving Eun Ha confused. Ha Yoon wakes up in the school dispensary, slowly opening his eyes, while still repeating his sister's name. Eun Ha asks if he's okay or if he feels any pain. As he sits up and holds his head, she inquires if his head hurts and suggests waiting for the nurse. Not long after, she returns with the nurse. The nurse asks if his head hurts, and Eun Ha explains that he collapsed suddenly. The nurse adds that he hasn't been sleeping or eating well lately. Advising him to rest for the day, she mentions she's already informed his homeroom teacher. As the nurse is about to leave, she reminds Ha Yoon that if Eun Ha hadn't found him quickly, he could have been in trouble. Blushing, Eun Ha dismisses it, saying it was nothing, and she's just glad he's okay. She then asks Ha Yoon if he knows her name, clarifying that she's not Ha Yoon, she's Eun Ha. He responds that Ha Yoon was his sister's name. Apologizing, she admits she didn't know. Deciding to go back to the classroom, she tells him to rest well. She vividly recalls the day she first met Ha Yoon. Placed in the same class with Se-yeon and Min-sung, while everyone chatted about their individual stories, Ha Yoon stayed silent. Instead, he sat alone, engrossed in a book. Later, she asked Se-yeon if she liked reading, and Se-yeon replied with a no. Min-sung chimed in, claiming an intelligent person is someone who reads, yet amusingly, he was reading a comic book at that very moment. Eun Ha's teacher asked her to return books to the library. Upon entering, she spots Ha Yoon. Wondering if she should just leave the books, he asks if she needs help with something. She explains the teacher told her to return the books, and he suggests leaving them there. She thanks him, thinking his name is so pretty after seeing his name tag. Curious, she then asks him to recommend an interesting book for her to read. Ha Yoon stretches out a book to her, mentioning it's his favorite author's newest release and it's pretty good. She thanks him, and from that day, she starts liking books a lot more. A few days later, in the classroom, Se-yeon urges Eun Ha to stop reading and play with her, but Eun Ha insists on finishing her book first. Just then, Min-sung starts playing ball with a student in the classroom. As he passes the ball, it accidentally hits Ha Yoon's head. Min-sung rushes over to him, apologizing profusely. As Min-sung is about to touch him, Eun Ha interferes, shouting at him for playing ball in the classroom. She turns to Ha Yoon, asking if he's okay, and attempts to hold his hand, but he forcefully removes it. Angrily, he tells her not to touch him. Se-yeon gets upset, but Eun Ha urges her not to be mad at him, acknowledging it was her fault for touching him. Min-sung takes the blame, saying it's all his fault, and they shouldn't fight. Ha Yoon gathers his things and leaves. Eun Ha yells his name, running after him. Se-yeon comments that Eun Ha has been acting weird lately. In the walkway, Eun Ha tells Ha Yoon to wait up, and he stops, asking her what's up. She apologizes for grabbing him earlier, breathing heavily, and says she'll explain to Se-yeon. He tells her she shouldn't be running because she has heart disease. Eun Ha asks him how he found out, and he says he overheard nurses talking about it. He then adds that he doesn't know why she keeps approaching him, but if it's out of pity, she can stop now. with that, he leaves her. It never crossed her mind that Ha Yoon would know about her circumstances, just like she knew about his. Even if their situations were different, she believed they shared the same pain, thinking they could be really good friends. It seems, however, that she was the only one thinking this way. After school, she arrives home, and her brother welcomes her. She asks if he's home alone and where their parents are. He explains they're out preparing for a mass order for tomorrow, and they suggested getting takeout for dinner. Eun Ha's eyes brighten upon hearing this, and she suggests they should get pizza. Her pet cat Noelle comes to meet her, and she picks it up. Her brother says that since she suggested pizza, she should go and pick it up. Eun Ha then shouts, suggesting they just get it delivered. Her brother explains that their mom only gave them 30,000 won, so the remaining money is his, and they can't spend it on a delivery fee. She argues that he shouldn't be so stingy and asks why he has to keep the money. He insists he decided that on his own, mentioning there's a new pizza place right outside their apartment. Eun Ha retorts, saying he wants to make his ill sister do all the work for him. He yells, reminding her that she told him to treat her as if she weren't sick. She responds with a casual whatever and suggests she'll do it if he splits the money with her. He agrees. Moments later, she heads outside, and it's really cold, possibly because it rained earlier. She notices a kitten inside a box with a sign saying it was separated from its mother. She picks it up, mentioning that Noelle was just about its age when she adopted him. She notices the message from her brother reminding her of the pizza. She tells the kitten she'll get it some food and a blanket. As she stands up, her legs tingle and wobble, and she yells in pain. About to walk, Ha Yoon grabs her shoulders. She tells him to wait because her leg is cramping. Finding a spot, they both sit down, and she thanks him for helping her. In her mind, she acknowledges it's so awkward, probably because of what happened earlier. Ha Yoon breaks the silence, asking when she got sick. She responds that she's had a bad heart since she was little. She could live a normal life after the surgery, but a month ago, they found a problem with her heart. She explains she needs a transplant, but there's a long wait list, and it isn't guaranteed to help her either. They say she has a year at most. In Ha Yoon's mind, he thinks, lucky her. He doesn't have the guts to die even if he wants to. Eun Ha says she didn't approach him because she thought he was pitiful. She believed that, since they had similar pains, they would be really good friends. She apologizes if she made him uncomfortable. In his mind, he thinks he can't because he's not as brave as her. She then screams, realizing she forgot about the pizza. She gets up, saying she'll be going now. As she walks, she sees some guys holding the kitten. She screams at them, asking what they think they're doing, and tells them to put him down. She screams, telling them to let go of him. The one holding the kitten asks if it's her cat, mentioning he just wants to pet it. She calls them idiots, and in Ha Yoon's mind, he thinks it has nothing to do with him. Ha Yoon then tells them to put the cat down. One of the guys asks who he thinks he is, and what he's going to do if he doesn't. Ha Yoon shows him a video he recorded of them, saying if he doesn't, he'll post it online for everyone to see. They drop the cat and leave. Eun Ha says it looks like the cat is okay and thanks Ha Yoon. She suggests they probably shouldn't leave it here, though. Ha Yoon offers to take it, but she insists it's okay, as they have a cat at home. Ha Yoon questions how she's going to take care of it when she has just 1 year left at most. She asks why he wants it, and in his mind, he thinks it's his way of making amends. If he knew things would turn out this way, he would have helped his sister convince their parents. Eun Ha then suggests she'll teach him how to take care of a cat and asks if he can come with her to the pet store after school tomorrow. She hands him her phone and says he should give her his phone number. The next day in class, Eun Ha wonders where Ha Yoon is. She then texts him, and he responds that something came up. They agree to meet in front of the station, and she says okay. In her mind, Eun Ha says she was hoping they could get closer by walking there together. Se-yeon then tells her they should go home, and she says she has to do something, so she can't go with her today. She apologizes, mentioning she'll see her tomorrow. Min-sung then wonders if Eun Ha is dating someone, claiming it's all a man's intuition. Se-yeon tells him it's nonsense as usual. 30 minutes later, Eun Ha sits at the station, waiting for Ha Yoon. He's already running 30 minutes late, making her wonder if she got stood up. Ha Yoon arrives, breathing heavily, and asks if she waited long. She then asks why he's so late, expressing her concern that he stood her up. He explains he had something to do. They arrive at the pet shop, and she instructs him to feed the cat a particular formula because it's a baby. Trying to reach the milk, she finds it's too high. Ha Yoon then helps her to bring it instead, and she thanks him, continuing to provide him with all the information he needs to know. She adds that if he needs anything else, she can bring it over from her place. They proceed to pay. Outside the pet shop, she mentions there's something she wants to talk to him about if he has time. They decide to go to a cafe for drinks. Seated, she asks him if he's part of the literature group, and he confirms. Wondering why, she informs him that they're going on a field trip this week and asks if he's coming. She heard they're going to a famous artist exhibition too. She shows him her phone, urging him to take a look. She mentions that she can't force him to go, but their teacher said it would be great if he could join them, and she really wants him to come too. In her mind, she thinks doing something nice might make him feel better, and there's also something she's curious about. He then asks her how she can be so carefree when she doesn't have much longer to live. She smiles, sharing that when she was first told she was a terminal patient, she felt scared and filled with resentment. However, meeting a kid going through the same thing made her realize that instead of living a life of regret, she should do things she wants to do before she dies, valuing her remaining life as precious. Ha Yoon then says he'll think about going on the field trip. Later at his home, he greets his kitten and lies on his bed, reflecting on how long it's been since he hung out after school. His phone buzzes, receiving a message from Eun Ha, saying he shouldn't feel pressured into answering her. Looking at the picture of his family, and remembering what Eun Ha had said earlier, his cat meows at him. He texts her back, saying he'll go on the field trip. Seated at a simple restaurant with Se-yeon and Min-sung, they're all digging into their meals. Se-yeon teasingly asks Eun Ha why she's been so busy lately, while Min-sung jokes about her studying without them, or if she's found a boyfriend. Eun Ha responds, suggesting that maybe if Min-sung introduced her to a guy, she could find one. The waitress then comes by and offers them more bread, which they happily accept, complimenting how delicious it is. After she leaves, Se-yeon asks Eun Ha if something's been bothering her lately. Eun Ha smiles and mentions there isn't anything bothering her. Se-yeon suggests hanging out tomorrow at a great pasta place, but Eun Ha apologizes, explaining she has a club field trip. On the other hand, Ha Yoon inquires about the destination of the field trip. The teacher responds that they're heading to Cheongju City, leaving on Saturday and staying overnight. He asks about transportation, and she informs him they'll be taking a bus. At the station, Eun Ha and her pal spot Ha Yoon, Se-yeon, and Min-sung from a distance. They playfully tease her about the recent ball incident in class, claiming it's a sign of love. Grateful for the bread she shared, they bid her farewell, and she wishes them a safe trip home. The following day, Eun Ha, all set for the field trip, encounters her brother. He questions her plans, and she casually mentions the field trip, assuring him she'll be back tomorrow. He cheekily asks for a tasty souvenir, but she dismisses the idea with a playful nope. Before heading out, Eun Ha's mom reminds her to stay cautious, advising that if she feels unwell, she should inform her teacher and give her a call. Eun Ha grins, assuring her mom she'll be careful. As she steps outside, thoughts of Ha Yoon cross her mind, prompting her to call him. Ha Yoon regrets he can't make it due to a prior commitment but mentions something urgent came up before swiftly ending the call. Puzzled, Eun Ha wonders if everything is okay. Soon after, the club supervisor rings her, inquiring about her attendance. Eun Ha confirms she's coming but can't help but question why Ha Yoon won't be joining. The supervisor reveals Ha Yoon's reluctance to ride in cars due to a past accident. Undeterred, Eun Ha offers to bring him to Cheongju. Concerned, the supervisor hesitates, but Eun Ha assures them that the doctor gave her the green light, as long as she doesn't overexert herself. She suggests they go ahead without them, and she and Ha Yoon will catch up later. Arriving at Ha Yoon's doorstep, Eun Ha rings the doorbell, catching him off guard. He expresses surprise, reiterating that he already explained he couldn't make it to the field trip. Eun Ha, aware of his car aversion, reassures him that she found another way for them to get there. Optimistic, she insists that they'll be fine, encouraging him to trust and follow her. At the train station, Eun Ha decides to handle the ticket purchase. Before she heads off, Ha Yoon slips into Starbucks for coffee. When she returns, she informs him they have 30 minutes until departure, and he hands her the drink he bought. After thanking Ha Yoon for the green tea, Eun Ha questions if it's coffee, but he reveals it's green tea, claiming it's good for the heart. Grinning, she expresses being touched by the gesture. 30 minutes later, on board the train, Eun Ha remarks about not having been on a train for a while and wonders if it feels like they're on a journey. Ha Yoon replies with a casual, "Not really." As the train starts moving, Ha Yoon dozes off. Feeling the fatigue, Eun Ha looks at him and admits she's tired too, eventually drifting into a deep sleep. In her slumber, she unconsciously rests her head on Ha Yoon's shoulder, prompting him to wake up and question what she's doing. Trying to adjust Eun Ha's head proves futile for Ha Yoon, so he gives up and lets her be. As they approach Cheonju, the announcement wakes her up, and she looks at him in disbelief, realizing she slept on him the whole time, but fortunately, he's still asleep. Eun Ha takes the initiative to wake him up, and they disembark. She remarks on the pleasant weather, and he inquires about the distance to the exhibition. Checking her phone, she discovers that walking will take 3 hours. Apologizing, she admits she should have done her research beforehand. Contemplating transportation options, Eun Ha suggests finding another way. Just then, Ha Yoon surprises her by pulling out a bike borrowed from a nearby rental shop, proposing it'll speed up their journey. Impressed, she calls him a genius, but questions why there's only one bike. Ha Yoon's solution is for him to take the bike while she goes by car. Unhappy with the idea of being separated, Eun Ha insists they should stick together for the day. Ha Yoon, confused, asks what she means, and she mentions her supposed heart condition preventing her from riding a bike, teasing that she has a solution for it. Seated at the back of the bike, Eun Ha urges Ha Yoon to speed up, questioning why it's taking him so long. He playfully responds that she's heavy, prompting her to smack him, asserting that a guy like him should handle it. While riding, Eun Ha holds onto his waist and reflects in her mind that she initially thought it might be awkward, but surprisingly, it feels peaceful. She wonders if it's because she used to ride a bike with a boy when she was younger, although that feels like a distant memory now. Upon reaching their destination, the supervisor scolds Eun Ha, but Ha Yoon intervenes, asserting that she did nothing wrong and simply brought him along. He boldly suggests any complaints should be directed to him. The supervisor expresses her concerns, urging everyone to proceed to the exhibition. Inside, Eun Ha excitedly shows Ha Yoon the author's first edition on display. Playfully, she asks if he's not glad he came, and he admits he is. Teasingly, she remarks on his smiling, earning a playful response from Ha Yoon. Riding the bike, they join the others at the restaurant where the supervisor gathers all the students to eat. As Eun Ha settles into her seat, a classmate teasingly asks if she had fun on her date. Quick to clarify, Eun Ha insists it's not like that. Just as Eun Ha is about to eat from an empty plate, Ha Yoon offers her some food from his own plate, urging her to eat it. Despite her protests, he playfully shakes the food into her mouth. Later that evening, Eun Ha realizes she's overeaten. Walking a bit further, she spots Ha Yoon and approaches him, asking what he's doing. He mentions he's stargazing, and she joins him, admiring the beautiful night sky. Expressing gratitude, Ha Yoon thanks her for bringing him along. As they sit together, Eun Ha privately reflects on the awkwardness, acknowledging it's not the first time. Breaking the silence, Ha Yoon opens up, confessing that after waking up in the hospital, he contemplated dying numerous times. Ha Yoon admits that he really wanted to die but lacked the courage to go through with it. Instead, he resolved not to seek happiness, feeling a sense of guilt. Eun Ha expresses sympathy, acknowledging that his logic doesn't make sense. How could someone try not to be happy? Attempting to offer a perspective, she suggests that his family probably wants him to be happy. Ha Yoon interrupts, asking her to let him finish. He explains that his thought process shifted after seeing her. Ha Yoon shares that there's now a part of him that wants to live, and he expresses gratitude, thanking Eun Ha. He attributes this change to her sticking by him and offering support, giving him a newfound motivation to live for the future. In her thoughts, Eun Ha reflects that for some, this may be the norm, but for them, it feels like an unattainable dream. Even if it's just for a brief moment, she wishes time would slow down, making it her silent prayer to the stars. The next day, ready to leave, Eun Ha asks Ha Yoon if he'll be okay. He responds, stating that he can't keep running away forever. As Ha Yoon hesitates to board the bus, he contemplates if he can do it. In a supportive gesture, Eun Ha grabs his hand, reassuring him not to worry and promising to be right beside him. Once he steps inside, she checks on him, suggesting they sit together. Holding his hand, Ha Yoon affirms that he's okay now. Eun Ha starts to withdraw her hand, but Ha Yoon grabs it, suggesting they stay connected. As they sit, Eun Ha dozes off, and Ha Yoon gently moves her head to rest on his shoulder. Entering her classroom on the next Monday, Eun Ha notices students murmuring. Glancing at Ha Yoon's empty seat, she becomes the center of attention as some classmates gather, questioning if she's dating Ha Yoon. The buzz about their supposed relationship fills the class. Defending herself, Eun Ha asks who spread the rumor. One student mentions the bike ride, someone witnessed a date night, and there are whispers about them holding hands on the bus. Laughing it off, Eun Ha explains that they just recently became close. Se-yeon enters and suggests they talk outside the class. Once outside, she questions if the rumors are true. Min-sung chimes in, stating he informed Se-yeon that Eun Ha has a boyfriend. Eun Ha responds, asserting that if there was anything between them, she would have been the first to know. Clarifying the situation, Eun Ha explains that Ha Yoon is going through a tough time, and the teacher advised her to be supportive. Just as she receives a message from Ha Yoon, asking if they can talk. Meeting Ha Yoon later, Eun Ha addresses the rumor, assuring him that it's just classmates messing around, and he should ignore them. Ha Yoon, seemingly unbothered, asks if she's okay with it. He points out that since they're not actually dating, it's fine with him. Eun Ha, with a teasing suggestion, proposes that he could get a real girlfriend to make the rumors disappear. They decide to head back to the classroom, but as they walk, Eun Ha starts breathing heavily, prompting Ha Yoon to rush to her and ask if she's alright. Eun Ha reassures Ha Yoon that she's fine, but he insists they go to the hospital. She brushes it off, saying it's a common occurrence for her. Just then, Min-sung barges in and takes a picture. Despite her attempts to explain, Min-sung flees the scene. Feeling drained from having to prove her innocence, Eun Ha walks home from the hospital after school. Along the way, she recalls memories of a boy from her past, Eun Ha, and wonders how he's faring in America. Jihan spots her and asks if she went to school. She replies affirmatively and playfully questions if he thinks she looks pretty in her uniform. After a brief pause, she mentions that she was going to buy him ice cream if he said she looked pretty. Jaemin compliments her, saying she looks super pretty. After getting ice cream, she inquires about his treatment, and he admits it's not going well. Eun Ha praises him for being strong. However, he remembers his favorite series is about to start and informs Eun Ha that he's heading home, bidding her goodbye. Arriving at her apartment, Eun Ha notices movers outside and wonders if someone is moving in next door. Upon entering her house, she encounters Noelle, who hisses at her, leaving her perplexed. Suddenly, a familiar voice announces her return. Turning, Eun Ha sees a guy and questions his identity. He casually mentions it's been a while and asks how she's been. Surprised, Eun Ha questions the guy's identity, speculating if he's a friend of her father's. He playfully asks if he looks that old and expresses disappointment that she can't recall her childhood friend of 10 years. To jog her memory, he shows her a scar on his head, reminding her that he got it when she hit him with a toy block. It finally clicks for Eun Ha, and she asks if he's Eun Ha. He confirms it, pleased that she now recognizes him. Eun Ha eagerly asks when he got back to Korea, bombarding him with questions without giving him a chance to answer completely. Finally, he manages to convey that he's back in Korea for good and wanted to surprise her. Playfully, she smacks him, admitting he truly surprised her. Seated, she observes that he has changed a lot. Inquiring why she took so long, she mentions a hospital visit that day. Concerned, he grabs her and asks if it's because of her heart. Back in the past, the only person aware of Eun Ha's illness, besides her family, was Eun Ha. Flashing back, they playfully run around, and she suddenly collapses on the ground. It's her first heart-related seizure, 10 years ago. In that critical moment, Eun Ha carries her to the hospital. The doctor reveals that if they had been any later, she would have died. Eun Ha becomes her lifeline, visiting her daily after the surgery. Just before her discharge, she finally sees him, and he promises to keep her safe and protect her forever. Back in the present, they playfully joke about the past. Eun Ha mentions that he moved to America right after that incident. Eun Ha explains it was due to his dad's job, and he couldn't do anything about it. He notes that she's still the same as ever and asks about her heart. Eun Ha reassures him that she's fine now, and he expresses relief, saying he's glad to hear that. Eun Ha mentions that she recovered a long time ago, and Eun Ha insists that she should let him know if anything happens, promising to protect her. Playfully teasing him, she suggests that she needs to rest, encouraging him to go help his mom. In response, Eun Ha informs her that she needs to get ready to go out for dinner. Surprised, she asks why, and he explains that her mom told him to bring her along. Eun Ha agrees to change and instructs him to wait for her outside. At the restaurant, Eun Ha's brother, named Hyung, playfully teases Eun Ha about bleaching his hair, wondering if he's going through an emo phase. Eun Ha interjects, claiming he doesn't understand fashion. Eun Ha, sitting across from Eun Ha, notices she isn't eating much and comments on it. Eun Ha tells him not to mind her, but he insists. Eun Ha then playfully instructs her to wait and proceeds to feed her, shoving the food into her mouth, despite her initial refusal. Later that day, Eun Ha flops on her bed, expressing how tired she is. Reflecting, she didn't think she would ever see Eun Ha again and debates whether to tell him about her condition. The memory of Eun Ha promising to protect her forever makes her smile, and she can't believe he still remembers. Suddenly, her heart starts hurting seriously, but she assures herself that she'll be okay. The next day at school, the teacher announces that the pictures from the field trip have arrived. As Eun Ha looks at the pictures, she remarks that there aren't any of just her and Ha Yoon. She wishes they had taken some, thinking it would have made a good memory. Eun Ha asks Ha Yoon how his cat is doing and if he has any pictures, urging him to show her. Ha Yoon obliges, and she compliments the cat, finding it adorable. Curious, she asks for the cat's name, and Ha Yoon reveals it's Bridget. Eun Ha smiles, expressing that even the name is adorable, and wonders if she can go see the cat. Ha Yoon questions if she means at his house, and she realizes it might be too forward. Apologizing, he suggests sending her pictures instead, to which she agrees. As they talk, Eun Ha recalls that Se-yeon has been upset with her because they haven't gone home together lately. Eun Ha meets Se-yeon and suggests they go home together, but Min-sung intervenes, stating that unfortunately she won't be able to join them today. Min-sung explains she didn't do her homework and needs to finish it before heading home. Eun Ha bids them goodbye. Outside the school, Eun Ha spots Ha Yoon and casually suggests they go to the bus stop together. As they walk, Eun Ha suddenly appears, placing his hand on her shoulder. He asks if her classes are over. Eun Ha questions Eun Ha about why he's here, reminding him that his classes don't start until next week. Eun Ha casually responds that he was bored, so he came to find her. He suggests going to get some tteokbokki and also asks about the guy accompanying her. Eun Ha pulls her shoulder away from Eun Ha's hands and introduces Ha Yoon as her friend, emphasizing that his name is Eun Ha. She prompts Eun Ha to say hi, and he extends his hand for a handshake, but Ha Yoon doesn't reciprocate. Eun Ha invites Ha Yoon to join them for tteokbokki, but Ha Yoon declines. Eun Ha instructs Eun Ha to inform her before coming here again. On another day, Eun Ha introduces himself to the whole class. Students murmur about how attractive he is and ask if he has a girlfriend. Se-yeon approaches Eun Ha, urging her to check something out. Eun Ha spots Eun Ha and remarks that he's here, the transfer student. Students start murmuring, wondering if Eun Ha and Eun Ha are dating because they look close. Hearing this, Eun Ha yells at Eun Ha to go back to the classroom, warning him that she won't forgive him if he comes back. As he leaves, he playfully tells her she's so mean. Se-yeon asks if they are flirting with each other, curious about the vibe between them. Later at lunchtime, Eun Ha spots Eun Ha and suggests they eat lunch together. She insists he should eat with his friends, but Se-yeon encourages her to go with him. Eun Ha firmly declines, and Eun Ha mentions he'll be waiting in the classroom when she's done. Se-yeon brings up Eun Ha's childhood friend, Eun Ha, questioning if their relationship isn't good. Eun Ha clarifies that it's not about their relationship, it's just that things happened in the past. Eun Ha has always been unruly, and being near each other can be inconvenient for her. Eun Ha emphasizes that, for a peaceful school life, she needs to set boundaries. Min-sung chimes in, suggesting he thinks Eun Ha likes her. Se-yeon agrees and asks if he has a girlfriend. Eun Ha dismisses it, saying she doesn't know and doesn't care. She then informs them that she's going to the library for a bit, and her friends tease her about her boyfriend waiting for her in the classroom. As Eun Ha makes her way to the library, she spots Ha Yoon. She asks if he had lunch, and he confirms that he did. Wondering if he came to borrow books too, she inquires if he can recommend something for her to read. Ha Yoon gives her a book, and she expresses her thanks. In her mind, she wonders why he's being cold when she thought they had gotten closer. Ha Yoon then brings up the guy from yesterday waiting for her at the school gate, asking if they are close. Eun Ha explains that they were childhood friends, and he recently transferred to class 4. Their parents have known each other for a long time. Ha Yoon suggests that if she has time today, she could come over and see Bridget. As they walk, Eun Ha suggests getting snacks for Bridget on their way to Ha Yoon's house, and he agrees. She expresses hope that Bridget and Noel can meet someday. Suddenly, Eun Ha appears again, suggesting they go home together. Eun Ha yells at him, insisting he give her a warning before popping out of nowhere. She informs Eun Ha that she has something to do today, so he should go home by himself. He complains it's boring alone, asking what she wants to do. Eun Ha states she's going to Ha Yoon's house. As they proceed, Eun Ha stops them, expressing a desire to join them too. Eun Ha tells Eun Ha that he isn't even close with Ha Yoon. He questions if they have to be close for him to visit, pointing out that they don't seem that close either. Eun Ha suggests they can get closer while he's visiting, and Ha Yoon agrees, saying fine. As they reach Ha Yoon's house, Eun Ha carries Bridget, asking if she remembers her. Eun Ha glances around the house, commenting that it feels empty, questioning why Ha Yoon lives alone in such a huge place. Eun Ha's heart beats faster, while Ha Yoon says he'll go buy some drinks from the convenience store. As Ha Yoon leaves, Eun Ha smacks Eun Ha, telling him to stop saying weird things to Ha Yoon. She reveals that Ha Yoon is living alone because the rest of his family died in a car accident, warning Eun Ha not to say anything family-related in front of him. Eun Ha remarks that she should have told him sooner, and she retorts that he's the one who followed them out of nowhere. Ha Yoon returns with the drinks, and Eun Ha dashes to help him, acting suspicious as if he knows something. The conversation between them is awkward. They suggest playing a game, and as they play, Ha Yoon reminisces about playing with his sister when his father was around. Indeed, there were moments like that. Now, he understands why the version of himself that once wanted to die started desiring to live after meeting Eun Ha. She shared her precious remaining life with someone like him. Now, he comprehends why he felt jealous back then. Unbeknownst to him, she became someone special. There was a time when someone saved him. Eun Ha was the one who taught him the value of being alive. However, time isn't eternal, and goodbyes come without warning. Actually, it may not even have anything to do with Eun Ha anymore. After that day, Eun Ha couldn't come back to school. He pondered about when it all started, she, with her heart disease, and him, having lost his family. She told him they were opposites who could understand each other, but he didn't believe it. She wanted to live, and he wanted to die. Through the short time they spent together, he started to think that he wanted to live. In front of Eun Ha's hospital ward, his hands tremble as he attempts to open the door. Se-yeon asks if he isn't going in. He always stands here and then ends up leaving. Eun Ha is waiting for him. He attempts to talk, and she says she heard from Eun Ha, so she won't force him. But if he really cares about Eun Ha, he should carefully think about his actions. He says to himself he doesn't deserve to see Eun Ha again. That day, after she passed out, he realized something, the feeling of having someone special to him and the fear of losing them again. He was more afraid of the hurt he would feel after losing her than being afraid of the fact that she would die. He's so selfish, thinking more about himself, who had longer to live than the one who would die soon. It's incredibly selfish. Inside Eun Ha's ward, Se-yeon tells her Ha Yoon came by again. Eun Ha then says she knows, he always stands by the door and then leaves. Sometimes she looks out the window, and she sees him. He stands out there for a long time, staring at her window, and then he just leaves. She then asks Se-yeon if she thinks what she did was unnecessary. Should she not have approached Ha Yoon? Time passed, summer ended, and fall was upon them. In school, Ha Yoon bumps into Eun Ha. Eun Ha then tells him he wants to have a word with him. Ha Yoon asks what it is, and Eun Ha says it's not his fault. He heard from Eun Ha about his family. She wanted to be with him even when she was hurting. He then says, "What's the use of being a childhood friend? I knew she was sick, but she didn't tell me how bad it is. She probably didn't want me to worry." He tells him Eun Ha really misses him. She has to spend the rest of her time in the hospital. At least he should let her see his face. Later that evening, as Ha Yoon walks, he sees the place where everything began, where he helped Eun Ha, and the reason why he has a cat now. They ate together, hung out together. Their time together was short, but they did a lot. Rain starts falling, and he thinks about how she was always smiling. He questions what exactly he's doing here right now, realizing he never did anything for her. As he contemplates, he hears Eun Ha's voice saying she found him. He sees her sitting on the ground under the rain. Surprised to see her, he tells her to come before she catches a cold. He pulls his jacket and puts it on her shoulder, saying she's the one who shouldn't be catching colds. She appreciates his gentlemanly gesture, reminiscing about the time in Cheonju when he bought her green tea. Ha Yoon then apologizes for not visiting her in the hospital. She reassures him, saying it's fine, as she already knows he spent a lot of time in front of her hospital room door. She drops a bombshell, revealing she's getting a heart transplant, leaving Ha Yoon shocked. She mentions they got lucky and found a donor, explaining that if the surgery goes well, she won't die. Ha Yoon, relieved, says it's good to hear that she's not going to die. However, she adds that the success rate isn't even 50%, and her case is unique. Having undergone a heart transplant before, doctors are unsure about her situation, and there's a risk she could die during the surgery process. Feeling scared, she confesses to running away from the hospital, acknowledging the silliness of her actions. Ha Yoon comforts her, stating it's not silly. In his mind, he reflects on his misconception that he was the only one feeling sad. Eun Ha, despite her illness, always smiled, but now he realizes she was also hiding her pain. She expresses gratitude, saying that there's something she hasn't been telling him. Since meeting someone like him, she feels comfortable. Advising him not to speak negatively about himself, she then makes a request, just once, he should hug her. Ha Yoon quickly embraces her tightly, expressing his happiness about meeting her and how it helped him sort out his thoughts. On that day, marked by heavy rain, they felt each other's sincerity. It became the saddest and most splendid day of their 18th year, passing by with a mix of emotions. 2 years later, on graduation day, Min Sung suggests taking a picture together. Eun Ha questions the need for it since they'll see each other again, but Min-sung insists for the picture before heading to the after-party. Ha Yoon, with a smile, agrees to join. As they prepare to take the photo, Ha Yoon asks them to wait as they are missing someone. Eun Ha enters, and in Ha Yoon's mind, he reflects on the impact she had on his life. Wondering if, without her, they could be smiling like this now, he acknowledges that she gave someone hope for the future and courage that won't be broken. Taking it seriously, he admits she was his first love. And that's a wrap for the story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, farewell.